I'm going to visit an old friend tonight. I know that I've shared this verse before, or set of verses from 1 Corinthians 13 in the New Testament. It's a letter written by Paul to the church that's in Corinth. And it's about love. And to me, it's been a very important scripture for helping me kind of overcome a lot of internal bad habits, like the way that I address myself within my own mind, the way that I think of God, and the way that the rules for my inner dialogue are kind of set here. And so even though I've shared it before, it's something that I regularly go back and check on my own, just to kind of refresh myself, remind myself, and give a little shot in the arm to spiritual life. So it's about love. And he writes, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails." So the reason I find this verse so important is, one, the first exercise that I started doing with this verse is to replace love with two other words and read the same thing. The first time I go through and I say God, I use the word God, and I say God is patient, God is kind, God does not envy, God does not boast, God is not proud, God does not dishonor others, God is not self-seeking, God is not easily angered, God keeps no record of wrongs. God does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. God always protects. God always trusts. God always hopes. God always perseveres. God never fails. And see, I do that because in 1 John, the scriptures, the Bible itself says that God is love. And so that is where I take that license of putting the word God in there. Because it's kind of a self-correcting practice, because we get weird ideas about God, especially because modern religion gives us weird ideas about God. And so it's good to kind of clean the filter out a little bit and be reminded. I also, whenever I talk to somebody who doesn't believe in God, which is fine, I don't have any problem with somebody being an atheist. I think it's a very honest and reasonable place to start in life. But to talk about God as love. So instead of using the word God, you use the word love. Do you believe in love? Well, who doesn't believe in love? Love is something that's just as undefinable as God. It's an infinite word, and the understanding of it is infinite as you grow and grow and grow in it. And so it kind of disarms this weird stuff around God because of the weird way religion is practiced in these modern times. The other thing that I do is go through and put myself in there, just to kind of check up on myself. I used to do it in the mornings as sort of an affirmation for the day. I'd say, I am patient, I am kind, I don't envy, I don't boast, I'm not proud, I do not dishonor others, I am not self-seeking, I am not easily angered, I keep no record of wrongs. I do not delight in evil, but rejoice with the truth. I always protect, I always trust, I always hope, and I always persevere. I never fail. You see, and just by taking these affirmations, it's just really helpful for kind of establishing a center in yourself. And, as far as the inner dialogue goes, the way that I talk to myself in my mind, I used to be quite harsh toward myself. And I became aware of that only after I started practicing awareness of the moment, watching the mind, being the observer. And I saw that I was quite harsh and held a lot of stuff against myself. And so now I demand that my inner voice obeys each one of those words, that my inner voice, my inner self, that I'm always encouraging, I'm always hoping, I'm always right there to lift myself up, not to name my faults, not to break myself down, not to badger myself over repeated faults, but to remind myself I keep no record of wrongs. which actually the first time I read that with God's name in there, that was quite eye-opening, because in the tradition I grew up in, God was only keeping faults. He was the Santa Claus, keeping that list of who's been naughty and nice. And it wasn't just presents he wasn't going to bring you. So that was the tradition I grew up in. And when I read this and put God's name in there, it really reframed that inner relationship with my ideal. So anyway, I wanted to share that because it's a very powerful verse and it can be very, very useful. It's beautiful just as it is. And to take it and come up with ways of using it to build your own self up, to find that ideal in your life.